60 Minutes Overtime.
What have you found here?
What we're seeing here is a anti-vehicle mine.
How much damage can that do?
Basically, it can blow up a military vehicle, depends on the size, but it does have 7.5 kilograms of explosive, so the damage is massive.
This week on 60 Minutes, we report on Ukraine's landmine crisis. Since Russia's full-scale invasion began 2 years ago, Ukraine has become one of the most mined countries in the world. To see for ourselves, we traveled to the Kharkiv region, where a town called Izium is littered with mines, and civilians are losing limbs and lives.
Where are you finding mines in Ukraine?
I think we're finding them pretty much everywhere where there was conflict.
Pete Smith is in charge of demining Ukraine for the Halo Trust, a charity focused on ridding war zones of these insidious weapons. It's an organization Princess Diana championed, pulling landmines into the international spotlight back in 1997. That same year, the Mine Ban Treaty was signed, seeking to eliminate explosives that could harm the innocent. But mines are still common in war zones like this. We asked Pete Smith how the situation in Ukraine compares to other countries 2 years into the conflict.
I think today, my assessment is that Ukraine is the most heavily mined country. It's certainly at a scale that we've not seen since I can recall in my military career previously before joining Halo.
So more than Afghanistan, more than Iraq?
I believe so, certainly with the conventional levels of mines that we are talking about.
For how many years will these mines be dangerous?
Largely, they can be there for decades to come. And that's certainly our experience in places like Afghanistan and other places around the world, in Africa and the like, where we are still finding and discovering mines decades afterwards that are capable of functioning.
Who's being hurt by these mines?
Since the full-scale invasion, there's been some 1,006 civilian casualties. Most of those occur in farming areas or on pathways, and the majority have been anti-vehicle mines that have caused the fatalities and injuries.
And maybe we can talk
Smith's team showed us an anti-vehicle mine, the kind meant to blow up a tank. Smith told us this one was laid in a rush. Usually, they're buried so that only the pressure plate on top rises from the ground. Once war has receded, a mine can't distinguish a tank firing shells from a combine harvesting food. Ukraine is also inundated with these anti-personnel mines, which the Mine Ban Treaty prohibits. They weigh mere ounces, but their devastation is permanent. They're known by the deceptively innocent name petal mines because they scatter like flower petals when they drop from the sky.
Typically, several hundred of these at a time will just be liberally and indiscriminately spread. They can rest on the roofs, they can sit in guttering, they can take years before they come back into view.
How is it detonated?
Very simply, the explosive element is here, inside here, and as soon as you press on top of that, that's enough to release a firing pin that then initiates the explosive charge inside it.
How much pressure?
Probably a small child would be enough to do that.
A small child will set it off?
Yeah.
And then there are the especially treacherous incidents where the two types of mines work in tandem.
We are seeing and hearing of those times where anti-personnel mines are actually underneath anti-vehicle mines. So if you lift an anti-vehicle mine away from the surface, the pressure release is sufficient to initiate the anti-personnel mine below and potentially also detonate the anti-vehicle mine. It is to make the challenge of breaching those minefields much more difficult and much more thought-provoking for the Ukrainians.
Diabolical. How do you operate safely in such a hazardous occupation?
We pride ourselves on our training and the amount of training that we give to our people. We select them, first of all, to become deminers. They have to have the aptitude to be able to do that. It takes somebody who can concentrate for good periods of time and is not afraid of hard work. I'm proud to say that we've got some 1,000 deminers now in the organisation, and they come from all walks of life. 30% of our deminers are women. We have makeup artists, we have lawyers, we have engineers, we have a variety of people from civil society who all want to make a difference, and their way of making a difference is helping us to demine Ukraine.
The day we were there, that contribution came from a Ukrainian woman named Yulia Yeroshuk. Blade by blade, up and down, she carefully searched for a tripwire. This painstaking scene plays out time and again wherever Russian forces once stood.
How many mines are in Ukraine planted today?
I think somewhere in the order of several million.
Several million. What would it take to clear these millions of mines?
It will take a concerted effort over a number of decades. And of course, we must remember that the conflict is still ongoing and is likely to for the foreseeable future. So many of these minefields are not actually in reach of us at this moment in time, but when Ukraine is able to recover its territories, clearly a concerted effort is going to be needed over generations.